Guys, I really had to take my time to sit down and tell you to watch Fairly OddParents: A New Wish. This is one of the best reboots, revivals, you know what I mean, of all time. I dare to say that it is better than the original Fairly OddParents. And if you actually sit down long enough to let me tell you the entire first season, I'm sure I can convince you. What's up, everybody? It's Johnny2000, focusing on 2000 content, movies, TV, media, and so much more. So I wrote this video because I saw that Fairly OddParents: A New Wish, the second season, was coming out on Netflix. Little did I know that it already came out as season 1 on Paramount+. So I've actually had access to these episodes all along when I believed that there were only 10 in the first season. So we're gonna talk about the first half of the first season. Nevertheless, though, it is such a phenomenal show and I can't wait to show you guys all I discovered about it. Let's start with the pilot. So the premise of the first episode is essentially that there's this girl named Hazel who just moved to Dimmadelphia. She's dealing with trying to fit in, as well as her brother, which is somebody that's like kind of a hero in her life, moving away. So she's dealing with being alone a little bit more. Cosmo and Wanda are also dealing with this new era of their life where they don't really know what to do with themselves and have trouble with independence. Yeah, and basically the two come together and the fairies get back into wishing, which is something they've always wanted to do, by causing Hazel to be a fly. And this also helps Hazel be able to connect to her brother, because if she was able to fly, she would be able to see her brother again. I love the joke that the first wish she would use is to wish for unlimited wishes, because it's a cute little reference to the fact if you had Fairly OddParents, you would have unlimited wishes, and also connects to that childhood joke of if you had a genie with 3 wishes, of course you would wish for unlimited wishes. It's OP! And it just automatically makes it relatable to the younger generations, and I just love that immediate start. The one scene where she tries to get on a bus and there's quote-unquote real Timmy in there, which I don't think is actually real Timmy, and this turns out to be like a film set, that's just such a funny gag. I love that they did that. The opening scene reminds me a lot like of a musical, where it's like you state the theme of the entire show within one act, but it's so important to do this in pilots because you kind of know what you're getting in for. Like when Hazel is talking about how she could have a wish that her brother Anthony is back, but doesn't really get a wish. Like it shows that, hey, maybe this is something that could really benefit her. And her relationship with her brother Anthony is very unique because instead of being an evil babysitter that she has to avoid, she actually desires to be closer to her brother. It makes the fairies kind of less important in her life, so she doesn't necessarily need them, which is cool because Cosmo and Wanda actually have to strive for a goal of impressing this girl in order to be working with her. And I definitely feel for her. Like, I feel like having a sibling that's so far away that you really wish you were close to is it's just such a relatable frustration in life that I feel like most kids this generation feel distant from their siblings, and to be able to watch Hazel deal with it and actually learn to embrace the kind of independence that she sees in her brother is so sweet. Seeing him as like an inspiration to her is very genuine, and it makes me like her a lot more. And I love how the episode ends on her learning that lesson. The animation is the only thing that's like significantly different from the original series, but they still manage to keep the same spirit intact. And it's not going as far as like Jimmy Neutron's animation, which I like, and it's still feels like it's drawn by the same original people. Okay, first, let's take a look at the theme song. Beside the animation improvements, it holds a lot of nostalgia by starting out with an overview of the city and then going into the car of the main characters driving. Cosmo and Wanda show up, but they're adults instead of fairies right away, and turn right into fairies. The music number is surprisingly similar to the first show in a lot of ways. They have the dancing on the piano, playing the instruments, and honestly, the melody being the same is the most important. But overall, the same energy and spirit as the first show can be easily spotted in this. It's cute, it's humorous, and there's a lot of heart to it. And I love that we have a glimpse into Hazel's personality, like riding the bike, seeing a giant ghost. It's just clear that she's very unique from Timmy. And I think it's just really cool how every episode kind of has a title card that is in the original animation that's like very exciting. I think it didn't need to be a 2-part episode, but I love that it was. I think that was a bold decision that needed to happen. The more you prove that the story is worth it, the more reason there is to tune in. And I feel like the original should have done that. You know, like they just started out with those 2-part episodes that were about 10 minutes long. And I mean, this is a better reflection of our culture now. We don't do 7-minute shorts and expand it into 10 minutes. We do full pilots. And the animation being as cartoony as it is really helpful. Like, for example, when the dad is like making a joke and it transforms into like a movie-like setting. I feel like in terms of its new audience, like the younger generation of kids, things need to be a lot speedier than even their Fairly OddParents used to be. And with 2D animation, that's easy, but here it feels like the natural progression needs to be justified. Like, you can't just have stills pop up. You have to have it transform into something. But even like when we're introduced to like the cool kid and a giant plane flies behind him and we see Doug Dimmadome, like it's clear that they are able to do 2D as well as their new style, which is just so cool. The character of the kids in the school is just as interesting as the main character, which is cool because it's not just limited to Chester and AJ. It seems like Hazel is actually a part of a bigger community that we'll see a lot more of. So instead of like the close camaraderie of 3, like Timmy, Cosmo, and Wanda, or Hazel, Cosmo, and Wanda, we get more of an ensemble feel. The parents in this feel a lot more mature than Timmy's parents, but they were just downright neglectful. At least when Hazel's running away, they would care. I feel like if Timmy was trying to run away in the episode, they would be like, oh, whatever. When Cosmo references her going to space camp and he's like, I've always wanted to go to space, they have like a little quick segment where pictures pop up of him being in space, and that is it's so perfect because of course they're gonna reference it in a joke. It didn't have to be spoon-fed into the narrative. I do think the designs of them as parents is a little too realistic. Like, Cosmo kind of has a beer belly, and I don't know, they just seem so realistically adults. Not that we can't have adults being friends with kids, it just feels like a little off. I like prefer the goldfish method from Timmy Turner, or just the uniqueness of every time they're in a different scenario, Cosmo and Wanda, you know, adjust accordingly as opposed to always being these two adults. And they even have a reference with them meeting Barack Obama. The location is really unique, like Dimmadelphia being this new place instead of Dimsdale. Like, Dimsdale is this more suburban town, and this is more of a city life. And they really lean into it by having Cosmo and Wanda be the next door neighbors of the main cast. Something I was wondering throughout this entire pilot was, why are they not in Fairy World? If you're fairies that are retiring, then you should be in Fairy World. I don't know, like Cosmo's mom lived in Fairy World. It was very important. And my favorite thing is that they actually explain that later, and that's like kind of the twist of the episode that doesn't necessarily have to do with the plot, but it is so cool to see that from the hallway is real world, and the second you enter Cosmo and Wanda's apartment, you're basically halfway into Fairy World, and that makes it a lot easier to travel there and more justified than the original show. I'm disappointed we didn't see Jorgen in the first episode, but we definitely see him in more of Fairy World in the second, which I'm excited about. I mean, of course, we have to focus on Hazel and kind of her issue, because if we don't love her as a main character, why would we keep watching the show in general? So I like that they gave us a lot of moments that, like, if we didn't like her here, we may have liked this interest of hers. I don't know, it's just important to make sure we love the main character. And we already know Cosmo and Wanda, we don't need to get to know them as much. Fairy World looks gorgeous, like a kind of heaven, and I think that's exactly what it's supposed to look like. I think you should, part of the appeal of Fairly OddParents is you want to feel like you could have magic too, and seeing Fairy World being so exciting just makes you feel like you're a step away from magic. The references are very few and far between of the original series, and I'm super grateful for that, because it's so easy to bog down shows like this with original references. Like, they're only in minuscule moments, like when we see a picture of Timmy's bedroom, which, why do you have a picture of Timmy's bedroom? Why don't you have a picture of Timmy? I just feel like that's kind of anti-personal, Cosmo and Wanda. The entrance where they admit that they're fairies and transform from adults into the fairies is really cute. I was kind of hoping it would have those spotlights and everything from the original pilot, but they do kind of get a little graphic with their transformation. And since there's no Crocker or Vicky like the antagonists, we're kind of introduced to her dad being the antagonist, which is really interesting as somebody who keeps an eye on paranormal situations, which means a lot more of the conflict can happen within their own home. Oh, and having the students be kind of natural conflict for them. Like, every student has their own quirk, and it seems like they're very unique. And I love the ASMR kid. He's just so funny. It's just really good at representing the kids of this specific generation. The parents have really unique personalities. I love that they are actually attempting to be something that's helpful to society, unlike Timmy's parents. Like how the mom writes books about being mentally healthy. I mean, that's cool. And even though they're a little naive, which is awesome because they definitely need a character flaw, they have a lot of good intentions, which make it interesting to see them when we do. It's really sweet to have a moment where Hazel has to admit to running away to Cosmo and Wanda as just these inconspicuous adults in the apartment, because it adds a lot more emotional complexity to it, and it shows that they care about her immediately. I wish Cosmo and Wanda's premise for the first episode wasn't solely like, oh, we're trying to find a new way out of retirement, we want to find a kid that's in trouble, but they like maybe enjoy retirement and they do it for the greater good, as opposed to something that they're like, I wish it was less convenient for them and more of a sacrifice that they were willing to take. But I like how cheery and funny they are, like they needed to be this. The humor is perfectly captured from the original show. I feel like there's no... They give me a lot of Peanuts vibes, like the characters are silly and cute. And the original was trying to go for Peanuts vibes. I don't know if you guys noticed, but I recently did a breakdown of the original pilot of Fairly OddParents, and you didn't see the parents' heads. It was very Timmy and Vicky and cartoonish, and I feel like we're actually getting the vibe of the original pilot in this one, because when you focus more on the ensemble of kids and the interesting things that make them special, that's when we go into more Peanuts territories. But yeah, so Cosmo and Wanda are trying to come out of retirement and help and find purpose in their new life, while Hazel is trying to find her identity outside of her brother and just looking forward to him. And she's so frustrated at how her school works and that she doesn't really get along with anybody, despite that she could get along with Cosmo and Wanda. So she's really rearing to get away from it all. Cosmo and Wanda and Hazel come at a really good time in each other's lives because both of their problems could be fixed by connecting with one another, which is really adorable. Immediately we revisit the original premise that makes the first show work, which is Timmy makes a wish, it backfires, yada yada yada. And here we get Hazel makes a wish, it backfires, yada yada yada. Except we have a lot more emotional depth as to where's the wish is coming from, why it's important she gets this wish, and what are the consequences if she doesn't get this wish. And a lot of the consequences are internal, so it's a lot more interesting to get to know Hazel in that sense. Like, I want to know what would happen if she doesn't get to her brother Anthony, and I love that she has such a passion for her older brother. Like, that's not even something you see outside in our daily lives now. Overall, this pilot was not only a successful revival, but it was just a downright good show. Like, I feel like if we started out with this show and didn't even have the Fairly OddParents, it would be an interesting premise. They took everything that's natural and exciting about the core of the Fairly OddParents and put it into a new wish in a way that's very unique and makes it feel like it's kind of starting its own new identity. They're not afraid to get better with the storylines they created and actually retcon anything cynical about the original, which is very good because I felt like the original was very cynical. It wasn't even meant to be liked by me, but I liked it so much. And that's what means a lot to me, is that they weren't trying necessarily to get back their core audience, but they were trying to introduce a new idea into the world and show what people are really dealing with now and why fairies would be a perk specifically in the 21st century, in this day and age, like with social media and everything going on, in a unique take that's different from Dimmsdale. But yeah, this remake gets an A+ from me. I definitely think it's one of the better remakes I've seen. Or not remake. I keep saying remake. If you guys hear me say remake, please ignore me. I mean revival. If there's a definition of revival versus remake, it's that, like, the revival continues along the story, but a remake or reboot is when they actually change history and it's not moving forward, but kind of filling in gaps of what you've already seen. And this does a great job of proving that they can move forward without needing to change anything in the past. Just normal episode of the show, and normal I mean like 10-minute as opposed to full 20-minute episode like the pilot, is the Department of Magical Violations, 2A. So this one's really interesting because we learn a lot more about the lore behind the Fairly OddParents, even from the first series within this experience. Cosmo and Wanda are really funny and playful in this. Like, having Wanda be a seahorse and Cosmo being a princess, it's very woke. I like how Hazel talks like Timmy to Jorgen, where she's just kind of like, hey, this is a ripoff, like, I don't like the rules, da da da. Like, it feels like it captures the essence of the original show in her character just enough to keep it interesting. And I'm so excited to see Jorgen again for the first time. Although, I don't know why he would have aged so much. Like, I feel like if Cosmo and Wanda were around for 1,500 years and haven't changed at all, why would he just suddenly have a beard? I don't know. We're gonna move on from that. I like his sweater vest, though. His design in this cartoon is awesome. I like the new concept of, like, a wish fart. Like, when the wand goes out because it can't grant a certain kind of wish, having it be like this embarrassing moment and kind of like something comedic like a fart is really funny, and the fact it's gonna come back up later is really interesting. Jorgen literally says charmed. Literally. You get it? Because he's a fairy? I love that joke. Hazel mentions liking the DMV, which is a weird character growth moment. And I like that there's a character named Cookie that is going to supposedly take the place of Cosmo and Wanda if Hazel, quote-unquote, liked her better. But obviously, like, when you're that age, adults do things that they're like, oh, this is better for this person. So Jorgen actually assigns Hazel to Cookie instead of Cosmo and Wanda, not really caring about what she likes. The trial's fun because it feels like a boot camp or like the closest thing to like a fairy learning lesson we ever get to see, adding to the lore. Although it does give me like more game show Big Brother vibes than actual like militant stuff. I noticed Wanda sounds a little weird in this episode, and I can't tell if it's because the voice actress has just matured so much since beginning in this role, or maybe Wanda's just taking on this new personality, but it's noticeable to me. I don't know why. Fairy World in CGI is phenomenal. Like, it is gorgeous to watch this. And I love the stakes in this, that like she's already at risk of losing her godparents this early into the show. I mean, like, having only 10 episodes, 20 technically, but that's such a limited amount of time to establish a lot in a show, so the fact that they jump right into this being an important story element actually keeps me hooked pretty early on. Oh my god, the scary robot in this episode reminds me so much of AI, and he acts like it too. The whole premise of the first plot is that Hazel's too in her head, therefore all of her wishes turn out to be ingenuine, leading to things going wrong and her being stuck with this new fairy godmother. But until she learns to speak up, she's going to get what she actually wants, which is a perfect message for a kid show like this. Like, Wanda even says be loud and proud, which emphasizes exactly what she should be doing. Oh my god, when Jorgen and the robot tango, I'm just like so confused what this show is. Like, is this a comedy? Is this a drama? All I know is it's good music so far. This reboot has better music than the original. So Cookie's an objectively better fairy, I guess? And the episode resolves really well. Like, once Hazel's able to say she wants Cosmo and Wanda and speak up for herself, she gets rewarded for it, which makes it a really good start. And I love how the reason Jorgen loses respect for Cookie, this person he's been praising this whole time to replace Cosmo and Wanda, is when she does a wish fart. Yeah, the second time a wish fart happens, it kind of finishes off the episode, which I like that it's incorporated that way. Overall, like, a very strong start. The second episode I also really like. It's called Teacher's Pal instead of Teacher's Pet, episode 2B. So in this one, Hazel really isn't fitting in with the kids. She has a lot of social anxiety, and we get to see more of her insecure side. She does kind of what some of us did in high school, where like, there's always that person that is too uncomfortable or scared of the people around them, more comfortable around adults, so they befriend the adults instead of even try to communicate with each other. And I feel like Hazel does that a lot in this episode. Like, and this is so unique to her character, because Timmy Turner would never insist on being friends with a teacher, but the fact that she feels the need to is what makes the story so unique. And I like that the stakes in this episode are that all the kids in the school need to take a certain test and pass in order to move on to the next grade. It just makes everything so intense pretty quickly. So when Hazel wishes that she could be friends with the teachers and they would be friends with her, we have this lingering issue of if you like each other so much and you're friends, like, you don't have your responsible roles. Like, how are they going to learn this test? How are they going to get the stuff done if the teachers just want to hang out all the time? Like, it's very scary. Oh my god, Cosmo mentions anime in his pep talk in the beginning, and it's so weird. I like Cosmo and Wanda's new kid advice when she walks into the school for the first time. It's fresh. Oh my god, the teacher's lounge in this episode is just so dreamy. I love that it has all this high concept art. Like, they did not do this in the 2D animation in the beginning. I love how the students want to study. Like, it's such a change of, it's such a shift of culture since the first show came out. Like, people actually like being at school a lot more than they used to, which is interesting to me. The episode reminds me of, like, Jimmy Neutron, because Hazel is kind of like a teacher's pet in a way that Timmy never really was, but Jimmy Neutron was definitely a teacher's pet. Oh my god, the principal is perfect. It's like she's the antagonist, she's Vicky and Crocker combined. I feel like even her tone is so on par with those characters. I'm just amazed at how well this voice actress is and how they managed to come up with an interesting enough villain to make this work. I'm not sure if you guys heard about Fairly Odder, but they attempted to do this in a sitcom. Like, they tried to revamp Fairly OddParents to be a laugh track driven show with half-hour plots instead of like what it's naturally meant to do, and it did not do well, to the point where Netflix buried it. Like, you cannot find this anywhere. I have policemen outside my house right now as I'm telling you this because they're very particular about how I even address it. Isn't that insane? I like how all the characters kind of have like this like white outline to separate them from the background. It kind of reminds me of the thumbnails I've been doing on my videos. Not sure if you guys noticed, but check it out. It just reminds me that people don't like animation as much as they used to. Like, this is so impressive and cool, but just because of the influx of like so many preschool shows and kids being bombarded at an early age with, hey, watch this show, it's educational, it's this. There's like a weird vendetta against animation where it's like, I don't really want to do the thing that my parents made me do when I was younger. Like, TV used to be this counterculture thing where it's like, I watch Nickelodeon because my parents don't really know what it is. But now it's like, it's known. So the kid I babysat didn't even like animation. He was like, yeah, it's just for kids, which is an interesting perspective to have. I like that Hazel gets a friend naturally at the end without trying, because it just shows that like the most natural things in life happen when you take a risk and, you know, counter your social anxiety and fears just to kind of take that risk. Overall, a very good episode and very topical to right now, you know? So for episode 3A, we have a dinosaur in Dimsdale. There's a lot of positive things that came from this episode. Like, one, there's a talking dinosaur, and it's really cool. Like, they talk about dinosaurs in the first show, but not nearly as much as this new one, because Hazel actually has a liking for dinosaurs. Like, it seems like something she's really interested in, which is kind of cool. I mean, I think that's how Barney was invented, like, kids' interest in the unknown and, like, these large, cool creatures. The way they go about this episode is really interesting. Like, we get the parents back for the first time since the pilot, and I like that they have this need to be overachievers. It definitely adds a lot of pressure for Hazel, and it's cool because they aren't negligent like Timmy's parents. They're more business driven and ambitious to a point of like missing out on Hazel's stuff without being downright distant. Like, these guys are at least likable. I love how Wanda knows the dinosaur. Like, the idea of interacting between magic and also like real world things has always been a mystery to me, and I like that we get to see how that goes. And the dinosaur has such a funny personality in this. Like, he didn't need to be that humorous, but he's just so dopey and scared and insecure, which is probably like a good contrast for a big scary dinosaur. And I love how Hazel has to wish that people aren't scared of dinosaurs just to have this dinosaur around, which is a plot point that would not have happened in the original show. Like, they know that we're smart and we're like, oh, why would people just not care that a dinosaur's here? So they clearly had this quick piece of dialogue that justified that, which I like. I like when you treat your audience like they would pick up on stuff like that. And of course, like, he's kind of like reflecting Hazel's mood right now. Like, they're both kind of scared of the world, despite the fact, you know, like they have like their own place in it, and it makes it a lot more sweet and allows like Hazel to grow better. And there's this really specific event, like the ice cream light event, where apparently there's ice cream that lights up. I think that'd be really cool in the real world, but I'm not sure how safe it would be. I do like it when TV shows kind of invent their own things, like Spaghetti Tacos and iCarly. Like, this is their like, oh, like, let's sculpt out the world and explain why it's like a little bit more unique than the one you live in to justify why even animation is necessary for this. I like it. It feels like they thought about it in development a lot more. There's a reference where they mention Zendaya and that Wanda is her talent manager, which is so funny because like that's so topical to now. Oh wait, but it ends up not actually being Zendaya. That's so funny. It's so weird to think that the mayor is disappointed in Hazel and that that's like driving her to do the right thing. And by the end, when they make everything lose power and finally get it back, she's given the key to the city. But she did this in the first place. I don't understand. But yeah, another good episode. I've been expecting some of these to be duds, but they all feel very engaging. They pull me in with their characters, their absurd jokes that just get thrown in there, and then these weird character developments like Hazel liking dinosaurs. Like, we're just exploring a lot and making a lot out of the 10 minutes we have with these characters as opposed to Timmy Turner, which most episodes kind of felt like filler.
So then we have episode 3B, Fearless. We learn that Hazel likes horror stuff. She wants to marathon it at a sleepover with her new friend, and it feels kind of like a Chucky ripoff. But I like that we're seeing this friend Jasmine again, like their relationship is continuing. Oh my god, they make a reference to the movie My Girl. I'm not sure if you guys know what that is, but it's about this girl that gets killed by a bee, and it's like one of the saddest movies of all time. I just don't know why this is the place or time to mention a movie like that. And does Hazel's character necessarily need to be into that movie? The whole plot is that Jasmine is scared of scary movies, but Hazel wants wants her to not be, I guess. But Hazel's more so mad that she doesn't want to be open to watching scary movies. And it's like one of those things in the younger generations where it's just like, if other people don't like what you like to do, you kind of like either don't become friends with them, or it's a giant block between your friendship. I don't know. We learned that Jasmine kind of wants to be a singer, which is interesting. She should be in the world of Victoria's. And one of my favorite jokes that ever happens in the show so far is Cosmo saying that he cried during the TMNT series, which is like, you cried during Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles? How? It's a really interesting concept because Hazel wishes that Jasmine wasn't scared, essentially, but then all of her fears manifest into a bunch of different personalities that all do their own thing. But the episode's styled in the theme of like a horror movie, and I'm getting like Chucky vibes. Like, everything is committed to the tone of the episode. Hazel distracts her teacher by putting a puppet in her place, and it starts achieving way more than she ever had. And it's like this on-running bit of everybody being impressed by the Hazel puppet, but honestly, it's terrifying. Like, this episode is getting really scary, but it's good because I feel like there's like this cynicism to the new cartoons like that kids like they like dark, twisted type stuff, and this episode is really good at like feeding that. And it's really sweet because like the whole concept is Jasmine overcoming her fears with the help of Hazel, and it starts out first being about like Hazel wanting to spend more time with her, so getting her into her interests, but then she learns that like, okay, you don't have to be into my interests for us to be friends, which is a really good message. Like, she has to conquer her fear on her own, and this is just a really good one. As somebody who doesn't like horror movies, I feel like the theme and the story being interwoven into each other is really cool. So for episode 4A, we have the Wellsington Hotellsington, and this one really surprised me with how funny it was. Like, the last episode was pretty just impressive because of how good the horror themes were, but this one is just like pure fun, like kind of like the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, I would say. It's also interesting because Hazel and Jasmine have a crush on this kid in their class, and it's an interesting motivation for them to actually want to have a sleepover, because I didn't realize that the genders like crossed over that much and were able to have sleepovers. Like, did your parents let you have sleepovers with the opposite gender when you were at this age? Because I don't think I did. And the idea of using a sleepover to impress other people, that is such an important like social event to do. And the fact that she has to compete with the rich kid, which you know she can. She has Cosmo and Wanda. Like, it's not like she needs to, but you feel better about watching her do it because it's like, this guy's such a jerk. But I do like his character. I like that he's like the primary antagonist for some of these episodes already. The weird thing is though, it doesn't really come up again. Like, I feel like up until the second half of the episode, like, it's not really about the rich kid anymore because it's about the hotel going haywire, but we're not there yet. So basically the whole wish that circles the episode is that she turns her house into a 5-star hotel just to impress all of her friends and have a good time. But she gets very carried away in trying to impress them that she almost doesn't even care what they think. She starts just following these preset expectations, and she doesn't care about her friends' comfort, which is sad. Like, she gets sidetracked in all the glitz and glamour of this. But I like the idealized fantasies coming to life. Like, that is exactly what I like to watch cartoons for. You know, like, these outlandish ideas being carried out is like so cool. Like the Sweet Life of Zack and Cody being about living in a hotel when most people don't do that, and it keeps me watching, and that's cool that they only do one episode like this. Cosmo and Wanda work at the hotel, which I find really funny. Like, they kind of look good as like concierges. And we get the first glimpse at another news station, the Dimsdale Action News, which is super aggressive. And I like that it's more of a joke than an actual news service. Like, it's almost like commentary on real news. And being able to leave her parents out of the situation is beyond me. Like, I think they just go to another room and they put a giant lock on it. But how in the world do they not hear what's going on? Or at least try to leave the room. But that's another reason that they're better than Timmy's parents. Like, they're not neglectful, they're just hardworking, and I don't know, I still think they're kind of neglectful, but at least they're not like unapologetically to their extent. Like, that was a little too ridiculous. Like, the comedy came from them being abusive parents, I feel like, and now it's like that's not even a factor to worry about. I like the kid with the purple hair. Like, I feel like it's really cool that like that's like the definition of cool now. Like, it's not the rich kid, and like everybody wants to just hang out with the kid who has the most fun. Like, that is really what popularity should be. Choosing fame over friends is just a really good premise for an episode, and I feel like they carried it out really well here. Like, Hazel made like a lot of selfish decisions, but did have to on her own find out what she had to do to respect her friends and everything around her. Like, having access to unlimited wishes are really complicated because morally it puts you in a position where you're like almost like a godlike figure, like making decisions for other people, and like you have to take that very lightly. And Hazel seems to respect that opportunity by the end of the episode. They're doing really well with these dark vibes, especially when she gets famous. Like, they show us that it's not like all glitz and glamour. I just had a lot of fun with this episode. It like almost does Fairly Odd Parents better once again. Like, I don't really like a lot of the episodes about Timmy trying to impress all of his friends. Like, it feels a little cynical. So the next episode adds a lot to the lore, but it does feel a little in the same realm of the first part of this episode. It's 4B, 1500 Minutes of Fame, which is Hazel dealing with fame once again, but this one is actually a lot more unique. The whole concept is that they have class superlatives, which is something I've never really heard of growing up, but it's like the best of in class, like something you'd get in a yearbook where it would look impressive if you got it and not impressive if you didn't. Like, not that big of a deal. Like, we get the rich kid obviously having a shoe-in for one of these, but Hazel really just wants to find her place in the school. Like, she wants to feel like she could say what she's good at, like have her identity chosen. We get another reference to Jasmine being bad at singing, which is a funny trope. Like, we didn't see that she was bad at it earlier, but the fact that she is really funny. I just realized that the rich kid's plot did not resolve in the last episode. The Wellsington one, like, he just kind of didn't come back. Like, he was the antagonist and didn't even matter. So she wants to wish that she's famous so everybody could like her and she can get like a plaque on this wall. But when they try to make the wish, Hazel says she wishes for 15 minutes of fame, and since she said the specific word minutes, she activates another source of magic that is not the fairies. And they act like it's this legal battle, like sometimes he can't be involved because of specific words, and Cosmo and Wanda are very much like, this is not your jurisdiction, and he's like, well, she said minutes, so it is mine. And we get like a new character, and I like this because in Fairly Odd Parents they did have stuff like this too. Like, they would occasionally have somebody be magic outside of the realm of fairies, and that always added a lot of depth to whatever was going on. This guy acts like a salesman, and he's basically like, we have on sale 1500 minutes of fame, which I don't know what she's paying in general, so I don't know why she needs a discount. You could already tell this is going to be an issue, probably one of those things where it's like she wants to stop being famous, but obviously the 1500 minutes aren't up. But the aesthetic of the hourglass is really cool. Like, I love seeing her inside of it. Like, this is a really good example of what animation can do. Like, it could be so metaphorical and actually represent what's going on, but also being like hyper realistic, leaning into the 22nd century of fame as opposed to this like what we thought fame was is a lot more interesting. You know, like, to be famous, it just means to have attention, and since there's not like everybody being famous and there's just like influencers, it makes like the power dynamic really interesting. And Jasmine's like her best friend and is even gushing over her at school. I don't know what she did to earn this fame or why everybody's doing that, but like, whatever. I love the slow-mo effect. Like, they have this like every time she enters the room, like every other frame like skips a beat, and it's like really cool to see the animation like reflect what's happening. Like, it's the feeling of when you get out of a limo and everybody's taking a bunch of pictures. Like, they give you that aesthetic. Oh my god, Timmy's in this again. They have adult Timmy come up a bunch of times in the background of the episodes, thinking that we won't notice, but it's not that subtle of an Easter egg. I guess like the writers wanted to make an homage to the original Timmy Turner, but this just makes me feel bad for him because it's like, does he just go around town just being like this lonely? Of course, the principal makes another appearance, and she's the hater, and the whole message is that like fame doesn't come without a little bit of hate, which is definitely topical. And I can't stop talking about how much I like this principal as the antagonist. Like, the rich kid is one thing, but this whole principal, she makes it seem like the whole Crocker and Vicky combined is so interesting. One of the kids in this, I swear, looks like the young version of Denzel Crocker. Like, this little kid with poofy hair and the glasses. It's uncanny. I'm just like confused at where this is going at this point though. The principal essentially gives her a time limit and is like, if you're still famous in 15 minutes, we're gonna send you off to Hollywood to live. And apparently Hollywood is like a bad place to live and only bad people go there. What the heck? That's so funny. It's like such a shift in our culture. Like, it used to be this really exciting place you could go to, and now it is like the epitome of like punishment. She tries to tell Father Time, but he does not let her turn this back. I like him being in charge. It's definitely cool. And there's another character that comes in called Nick, and it's a pun on the nick of time. So Nick comes in to tell Father Time that they could solve Hazel's problem. And it's just so funny seeing them all annoyed by him or them. They point out the loophole in this, I guess, legal magic argument. Hazel could just say they're in New York minutes and actually make 1500 minutes go by in 5 minutes. That's kind of a diss, but also a conflict solution. I can't believe this actually ends up being the end of the episode. Like, apparently Hazel just needs to act New York, then the minutes turn into New York minutes, and she just says like, I'm walking here. And I forgot that this was like a stereotype. So the next episode we have is 28 Puddings Later. And this is like a really unique episode that doesn't feel like it's being a copy plot. Like, there's the concept of like wanting something so desirable that it gets the whole town to be like, I want that, I want that. And in this case, it's pudding. And apparently they have the best pudding in the school that everybody is like a zombie to, that Hazel is also desiring. I want it too. Like, I love pudding, and I love the idea of like a sweet treat being something that's so desirable. And Hazel immediately gets it. Like, she's also like, I love pudding and it changed my life, which is kind of crazy actually. I like the motivation being so positive and that like you want more pudding. And it's such a classic Wish type episode where she wishes that everybody had all the unlimited pudding they could have, not knowing as a kid that overexposure to something almost makes it not as good, which I had to learn the hard way. I actually still am learning the hard way. I tend to eat candy when I really like it. Ooh, I like Dev. So Dev is the rich kid's name. I just keep calling him the rich kid, but he and the principal pretty much team in this episode. And it's so funny to think of pudding as like the most expensive currency. And then once Hazel wishes for everybody to have an unlimited supply, all of this rich kid's currency seems to be worthless, which must be an example of the economy. He has like a monopoly on the pudding world. And since Hazel thinks that's unfair, that like motivates the wish. And that's a really cool concept. Like, it's a very advocate thing to do of her. It's more about like self-control and addiction though. Like, having so much of one thing is just never good. And literally her wish makes the pudding's worth like go down. This is somehow a really horror driven animated episode. Like, the scary episode was scary, but this one has a lot of elements of like the end of the world and people being so into pudding that it like kills them. Like, the lighting in this is, it just makes everybody who has pudding look like a zombie, and I don't know how to explain it. It's unsettling. Jenkins looks like Denzel Crocker, and I cannot get over it. It feels like the show is very heavily influenced by memes because the pacing is just so quick, but it's a lot of fun. Like, it feels like the stakes are actually up and they're able to solve it by making the pudding a lot more healthy than sugar, and it makes nobody actually want it anymore. And it's a pretty easy solution. There's Timmy as a squirrel in the background of this, and they really throw him in as many times as possible. I'm here for it. I care about the original series. Overall, I would say this episode did a very basic thing in a very unique way, like comparing and contrasting the original series plot with what makes this new show unique, which is its aesthetics, its cartoony like nature, and its witty banter. I'm just really impressed with how this series compares to Fairly OddParents. Like, I genuinely feel it's a step in a positive direction, but not even just that, I think it does better than the original. Okay, so episode 5B is Trial and Error, which is a really fun concept because obviously like Hazel's design is a lot more in tune with her personality, and having her hair be like something hard to deal with is just such a cool concept. She sings a song about herself, and I swear it's a parody of that show New Girl. Like, it's really funny how she's like referencing it. Her hair like comes alive in this episode, which is very unique. Like, Timmy didn't really have this issue, or if he did, it wasn't like as grounded as this. Like, her dad is such a bad barber and ends up like messing up her hair by putting like a giant bow in it that she cannot walk in. But it's kind of cute. It's sweet. She wishes her hair comes to life, actually, and I don't know, it kind of reminds me of the Wizards of Waverly Place episode where Justin Russo uses magic to make his pimple come to life, and it starts talking to him the entire episode, gains a life of its own, moves on from him. It's kind of copying that format, but this is a lot more interesting because her hair is like sassy and more of like a diva, and her whole premise is that like she wants to be doing her own thing, which actually offends Hazel, as it would me too, because this is my hair. Like, if my hair tried to get away from me, I would be so angry. I thought for a second this would be like a dad episode, but it's literally just him trying to cut her hair and then that's it. The way Hazel and her
her hair interact is like an abusive relationship a little bit. Like it's like are on odds and don't know how to connect. But I think it's because of the ego on her hair. Like she's definitely making it hard to connect with. Her hair even gets away to like form a life of its own, which is so funny. And she's bald. It reminds me of the SpongeBob movie when he calls King Neptune bald. Like that's kind of what Hazel is in this episode. But I feel like she looks just as good without hair at all too. Like I don't know why. Like Hazel's designed really well. The puns in this episode are so good. Like they keep referencing different things that are hair related, and it works too well. A lot of the episode is Hazel trying to find her hair, which essentially pulled on a life of its own. And there's so many good bits, with another reference to Timmy being in the background. We even have a Western moment. Oof, that's something I've been missing from the series so far. Like something that's like cowboy or Western. Like Timmy Turner did that a lot, and I feel like that's something that would be cool in this, especially with how well they're doing the genres. Like they have a little bit of disco reference in this episode, and I just want to see more Western in the future. I'm also realizing this is really good at being like a single character type show, which most shows aren't. Like Jimmy Neutron isn't a single character show, Zoe 101, Drake and Josh, like they're all shows that require an entire ensemble of people with issues or conflicting opinions that really needs to be resolved with the help of everybody. But I feel like Hazel's problems do start and end with her in an interesting way that nobody's that relevant, but it's still interesting to watch. You care about her, and the fact that they make her so likable is why we actually follow her premise. There's even like a war sequence, and her hair tries to like form a person outside of her, which is so funny because it's like, of course you can't live without her. She is a hair piece. But Hazel looks really good in her new fancy hair. That's like a relevant wish. I just am annoyed that they have this Timmy Turner reference. Her and her hair reconnect, and it's so sweet because she gets an award for most spirited hair. And that's kind of how the episode ends. Her winning, you know, it's not a negative ending, and we learn a lot more about the characters as well as some good hair puns. So this episode is a really good one. So this is called Weird Science, and it's a reference to this 80s movie that came out a long time ago. I actually had to watch it for something related to Nickelodeon, and I don't know, it's definitely inappropriate. It's like this guy creates a fake girl. It's like AI based, I would say. It's just not overall the most appropriate reference when we're doing something like this. And in the episode, it's kind of about her bringing this potato to life, or not even to life, just like electric powered, like Mr. Potato Head if he were ChatGPT, I would say. Another science fair episode, which we haven't really seen since the original series. I just watched the Jimmy Timmy Power Hour 2, which is primarily around a science fair, so this was really interesting to me. It's such a basic plot, but like obviously it could be done really well. Cosmo says, "Hey, watch it," stares at one point, which is just ridiculous to me. And I love how irresponsible Hazel can be. Like she's a teacher's pet and yet doesn't really follow the rules. Like there's a science fair coming up and she doesn't seem to make any headway. The point is she's like not a perfect student, which I could heavily relate to. A lot of this episode is talking about something becoming weird. Like apparently everything related to this potato going wrong is determined to be quote unquote weird. Like things start floating, or Wando and Cosmo's wand doesn't work. We learn that there's another external character that's in charge of all these sciencey things, and he looks like Einstein, but he's just a jar. Jordan makes another appearance in this episode, which I'm so excited about because he is really cool. Like, I don't know, he looks really heroic here. And they're suspicious that she's causing all this weird stuff to go wrong because it kind of alters with magic a little bit, I guess. It's about like altering the laws of science, which I don't know. It's connected to her dad being a scientist and actually into science himself, where I guess there's like a little bit of Hazel wanting to be like that. Oh my gosh, and I love how the teacher references meditation and then all the people in the class like love to do it. Like that's so weird. I didn't even know that that was a thing that was normal now. It's interesting to think of the potatoes being a source of power, but I know that's like there's some merit to that. Jordan is so rude though. Like when everything goes wrong, he just stands there, and Hazel, I mean, in her defense, she is like, hey, I could solve all of this, but things just get weirder and weirder, and Jordan is not helping. He is just waiting for it to go wrong, so he has to step in and save the day. In order to fix the solution, she's able to use the potatoes to power Cosmo and Wanda's wands, and they reconstruct the laws of science, I guess. Breaking the laws of science is an interesting concept. I didn't realize that it would lead to such literal issues going on, but it does a good job. And we still mention Anthony, her brother, which is mentioned in the pilot, and it's kind of sweet because, I don't know, Like, looking up to somebody like that is just a really yearning character trait that I tend to like a lot. Like, it shows that she's committed, she's caring, and a little bit more than the science fair's laziness that kind of is brought out in her. The second half of this episode is also really cool because the Fairly OddParents did an episode just like it. I'm not sure if you guys remember Where's Wanda? It's this old episode where basically Wanda is missing, Cosmo and Timmy need to find her, and everything is in black and white. It's a detective episode. And they do that similar in this one, which is interesting. I thought they would be more weary to repeat a plot like that, but hey, I'm here for it. There's interesting narration. Hazel has to solve a problem that's brought by her love of crime movies. Like, it almost feels more relevant in this episode than it even did in the original series. The whole concept is that her neighbor is acting really sketchy and something might actually be wrong. But then we find out in the end that they are just doomsday planners and they expect the world to end soon. So that's why they act so suspicious and they hoard everything. It's a really interesting character move because here we have Hazel going throughout this black and white world trying to find some kind of connection with the twins in her building and Wanda. And this location, like this building, the apartment building, is such a impressive location for something like this. Like, they didn't have that in the original Fairly OddParents episode, and they really lean into it here. Like, we see the elevator, we see Cosmo and Wanda as like her little sketchbook, and I don't know, this is very nostalgic for me. The neighbors play a long role in this episode, keep coming back, and their kids are really weird, and they praise Hazel because it's nice that you are paranoid of us because we're definitely used to people being paranoid because they're doomsday preparers. I like that there's a father time joke when she's talking in front of the closet and he thinks that he's about to be in it, but he's not, lol. So the whole thing is this case of the missing landlady. Like, she's not able to be found, so Hazel, it takes over. The reason she can't wish herself out of this situation is an interesting one. It's because she wished to be like all the other detectives that caused the black and white thing to go on, and when she wishes that she found out who the person was, Cosmo and Wanda are like, oh no, we can't do that because you wish to be like your other detectives, and the other detectives didn't use magic. Ooh. Dang, Hazel should be a lawyer with all this stuff she's learning about loopholes. It's just annoying because it's like, I feel like there's only obvious suspects, like Wanda is suspected for a second, but I don't know why she would ever have anything to do with this missing landlady, and we shouldn't be concerned about one of the main characters to that extent, that she would be doing something so devious. Once she's able to solve the pretty basic problem, everything goes back to normal. And this show is just, I'm gonna repeat it, so good with these themed episodes where the entire episode kind of has a mind of its own, a personality, if you will. We had the horror episodes that were going on in the school, and now a detective episode in black and white. I really want to see the Western type episodes because we were hinting at that before, but it was only a small bit, like a meme length bit that we didn't get to expand on. I'm excited to see what else the show brings, like probably by the end of the first season and also in the second season. But I digress. Oh yeah, and that science episode from the last segment in this, like, that was essentially a parody of an 80s movie. I don't know how you're gonna defend that. It's just so good. Season 1, Episode 7A is called Prime Meridian Love, and this one was kind of shocking to me, maybe because I didn't expect the anime references to be so top tier. Basically, the premise is there's gonna be a school dance and Hazel wants to be asked to it. She's a little upset that her friends don't want to hang out with her and watch the new episode of Prime Meridian, which I guess is a comic book series, but she still wants to go. Her friends want to go to the dance together, but she's like, oh, I need a date. She's worried that she's going to slip on a random substance and explode. You could really see the meme energy come out in this episode, and Prime Meridian is a really funny character. She basically takes this heartthrob in the comic book world, Kenneth, and brings him to life. It's funny because he can't breathe at first, but then of course he can. The animation is so jarring because it's like, that definitely wouldn't be in the style of Fairly OddParents, but he still somehow manages it. The way he talks too is so elegant, like I did not expect that. Hazel shows him the comic book she took him from, which I would be having an existential crisis if I knew that, but he's definitely taking it pretty well. It kind of reminds me of the Crimson Chin from the original series, where it's a comic book character come to life, but since it's Hazel, it's a little bit different. It's in order to help her in the real world as opposed to going into the Crimson Chin's world. But I like that it's unique and they're not just repeating the action hero bit. Oh my gosh, we get a montage where he's trying on different outfits and it's just a bunch of still 2D images, which kind of look like the video game series Persona and a little graphic, but overall it's really good. A lot of this episode is just them getting ready for the dance and going to the dance, with the principal being the main antagonist, not really trusting who Kenneth is. She impresses him with her knowledge of his lore, which is kind of deep because it's like the equivalent to like if you knew a person in real life and knew everything they've been through. But in this sense, it's a lot more cold, and it's like she knew his story physically by reading the books, but he isn't really a real person, so it's like hard to understand. And Kenneth has these like anime urges too, where he's like ready to fight at the dance, which would essentially ruin Hazel's time and get the principal to kick them out, which would be also really embarrassing for Hazel. In the end, Hazel apologizes to all of her friends because it turns out she was just jealous that they got asked to the dance and she didn't, and she wanted to kind of fit in, so that's why she brought Kenneth. And obviously they are super impressed because they recognize the character. We hate Dev, and obviously Kenneth wants to fight Dev, which kind of leads me to think that maybe there's going to be a romantic arc between Hazel and Dev, but I don't know, because they're in 5th grade. I don't think there's a lot of romance that needs to happen. But yeah, they duel at the dance, which is definitely cool. I wish they called this episode like Showdown at the Dance or something, but it's very visually interesting. It's very memey, and overall just like a good representation of how kids TV could be really good at this day and age. He turns into this disgusting looking fish, and that's kind of how it ends. The next episode is Stanky Danky, and it's the name of this dumpster that Hazel wishes to come to life. And this is a really unique episode. I would say it's like on the less interesting ends of the show, but it's about the environment, and Dev plays a bigger major role. When Hazel starts to learn about climate change or littering in general, she realizes in order to help the earth, she has to do certain things, and her parents are like very supportive of this, but obviously she takes it to a whole new level because she has fairies. I like that there's that struggle between like, how do I help the earth, but like also I'm just one person, you know, like it's definitely a quandary. And this is a very relatable goal because obviously we care about the earth and we care about Hazel, and the fact that she is determined to make it a better place is very admirable. And this is the one where she accidentally makes a wish in her dream and Cosmo brings it to life, which is kind of funny. I like that it's just like a dream wish, I guess. And this is where it gets interesting. So she wishes the dumpster to be alive. It's this really sweet, caring mascot, I guess. And Dev starts getting involved. His dad owns a environmentally taxing company, as you could imagine, as he's rich. He's very pro the environment, but also everything he does goes against it. And he kind of plays the victim card, even when his son starts questioning him and his morals and ethics, and he seems to not give him a straight answer or think he's doing something really good. His whole company's thing is that they are environmentally friendly and that he deserves more money for that. And it's perfect time for Hazel to come in when she's getting her little advocate phase and using Stanky Danky to help her kind of promote her causes. Dev is a little conflicted in this. We see like another side of him where he actually does care about the environment when he learns his dad is up to no good, and he like feels like he needs to do something. They even make the news, which is kind of cool. Dev's dad is like so heartless, even like stealing Stanky Danky. Like you never expect him to go this far. And this mascot kind of reminds me of like what a McDonald's mascot would be, just less direct. And they end up stealing him and using him for Dev's dad's campaign. Everybody ends up using this company's like products, and trash ends up filling up the entire town. Like boxes are everywhere. Not good. I like it how they fly through a box. It definitely reminds you that there is some really fun magic that is still yet to be had. And Hazel reconnects with the living dumpster. I guess Dev's dad is a reference to one of the old Fairly OddParents episodes, which is weird because I never remembered him before. The parents actually play an active role in this, and I'm a little confused because I feel like I haven't really seen them that much anyway. Like they never got like a mom episode episode a dad episode compared to like what I'm used to in Timmy Turner. But it's so funny because Dev's dad really strikes me as like Amazon or like a parody on like Disney, like how somebody has a monopoly over so many things, acts to be environmentally friendly, and then doesn't really make the steps to actually do something like this. And Dev's conflicted nature with it only adds to it being really interesting. Hazel actually caring enough to do something about it is also a good element, but it's just weird that she made the wish in her dream, and that's kind of how everything came about. But yeah, I do really like this episode. So the first normal episode of the show, and normal I mean like 10-minute as opposed to full 20-minute episode like the pilot, is the Department of Magical Violations 2A. So this one's really interesting because we learn a lot more about the lore behind the Fairly OddParents, even from the first series within this experience. Cosmo and Wanda are really funny and playful in this. Like, having Wanda be a seahorse and Cosmo being a princess, it's very woke. I like how Hazel talks like Timmy to Jorgen, where she's just kind of like, hey, this is a ripoff, like, I don't like the rules, da da da. Like, it feels like it captures the essence of the original show in her character just enough to keep it interesting. And I'm so excited to see Jorgen again for the first time. Although I don't know why he would have aged so much. Like, I feel like if Cosmo and Wanda were around for 1500 years and haven't changed at all, why would he just suddenly have a beard? I don't know. We're gonna move on from that. I like his sweater vest though. His design in this cartoon is awesome. I like the new concept of like a wish fart, like when the wand goes out because it can't grant a certain kind of wish. Having it be like this embarrassing moment and kind of like something comedic like a fart is really funny, and the fact it's gonna come back up later is really interesting. I love how Jorgen literally says charmed, literally. You get it? Because he's a fairy? I love that joke. Hazel mentions liking the DMV, which is a weird character growth moment, and I like that there's a character named Cookie that is going to supposedly take the place of Cosmo and Wanda if Hazel quote-unquote liked her better. But obviously, like, when you're that age, adults do things that they're like, oh, this is better for this person. So Jorgen actually assigns Hazel to Cookie instead of Cosmo and Wanda, not really caring about what she likes. The trial's fun because it feels like a boot camp, or like the closest thing to like a fairy learning lesson we ever get to see, adding to the lore. Although it does give me like more game show Big Brother vibes than actual like militant stuff. I noticed Wanda sounds a little weird in this episode, and I can't tell if it's because the voice actress has just matured so much since beginning in this role, or maybe Wanda's just taking on this new personality, but it's noticeable to me. I don't know why. Fairy World in CGI is phenomenal. Like, it is gorgeous to watch this. And I love the stakes in this, that like she's already at risk of losing her godparents this early into the show. I mean, like, having only 10 episodes, 20 technically, that's such a limited amount of time to establish a lot in a show, so the fact that they jump right into this being an important story element actually keeps me hooked pretty early on. Oh my god, the scary robot in this episode reminds me so much of AI, and he acts like it too. The whole premise of the first plot is that Hazel's too in her head, therefore all of her wishes turn out to be ingenuine, leading to things going wrong and her being stuck with this new fairy godmother. But until she learns to speak up, is she going to get what she actually wants, which is a perfect message for a kid show like this. Like, Wanda even says be loud and proud, which emphasizes exactly what she should be doing. Oh my god, when Jorgen and the robot tango, I'm just like so confused what this show is. Like, is this a comedy? Is this a drama? All I know is it's good music so far. This reboot has better music than the original. So Cookie's an objectively better fairy, I guess? And the episode resolves really well. Like, once Hazel's able to say she wants Cosmo and Wanda and speak up for herself, she gets rewarded for it, which makes it a really good start. And I love how the reason Jorgen loses respect for Cookie, this person he's been praising this whole time to replace Cosmo and Wanda, is when she does a wish fart. Yeah, the second time a wish fart happens, it kind of finishes off the episode, which I like that it's incorporated that way. Overall, like, a very strong start. The second episode I also really like. It's called Teacher's Pal instead of Teacher's Pet. Episode 2B. So in this one, Hazel really isn't fitting in with the kids. She has a lot of social anxiety, and we get to see more of her insecure side. So she does kind of what some of us did in high school, where like, there's always that person that is too uncomfortable or scared of the people around them, more comfortable around adults, so they befriend the adults instead of even try to communicate with each other. And I feel like Hazel does that a lot in this episode. Like, and this is so unique to her character, because Timmy Turner would never insist on being friends with a teacher, but the fact that she feels the need to is what makes the story so unique. And I like that the stakes in this episode are that all the kids in the school need to take a certain test and pass in order to move on to the next grade. It just makes everything so intense pretty quickly. So there's a reason. So when Hazel wishes that she could be friends with the teachers and they would be friends with her, we have this lingering issue of if you like each other so much and you're friends, like you don't have your responsible roles. Like how are they gonna learn this test? How are they gonna get the stuff done if the teachers just wanna hang out all the time? Like it's very scary. Oh my god, Cosmo mentions anime in his pep talk in the beginning and it's so weird. I like Cosmo and Wanda's new kid advice when she walks into the school for the first time. It's fresh. Oh my god, the teacher's lounge in this episode is just so dreamy. I love that it has all this high concept art. Like, they did not do this in the 2D animation in the beginning. I love how the students want to study. Like, it's such a shift of culture since the first show came out. Like, people actually like being at school a lot more than they used to, which is interesting to me. The episode reminds me of, like, Jimmy Neutron, because Hazel is kind of like a teacher's pet in a way that Timmy never really was, but Jimmy Neutron was definitely a teacher's pet. Oh my god, the principal is perfect. It's like, she's the antagonist, she's Vicky and Crocker combined. I feel like even her tone is so on par with those characters. I'm just amazed at how well this voice actress is and how they managed to come up with an interesting enough villain to make this work. I'm not sure if you guys heard about Fairly Odder, but they attempted to do this in a sitcom. Like, they tried to revamp Fairly Odd Parents to be a laugh track driven show with half-hour plots instead of like what it's naturally meant to do, and it did not do well, to the point where Netflix buried it. Like, you cannot find this anywhere. I have policemen outside my house right now as I'm telling you this because they're very particular about how I even address it. Isn't that insane? I like how all the characters kind of have like this like white outline to separate them from the background. It kind of reminds me of the thumbnails I've been doing on my videos. Not sure if you guys noticed, but check it out. This just reminds me that people don't like animation as much as they used to. Like, this is so impressive and cool, but just because of the influx of like so many preschool shows and kids being bombarded at an early age with, hey, watch this show, it's educational, it's this. There's like a weird vendetta against animation where it's like, I don't really want to do the thing that my parents made me do when I was younger. Like, TV used to be this counterculture thing where it's like, I watch Nickelodeon because my parents don't really know what it is. But now it's like, it's known. So the kid I babysat didn't even like animation. He was like, yeah, it's just for kids, which is an interesting perspective to have. I like that Hazel gets a friend naturally at the end without trying, because it just shows that like the most natural things in life happen when you take a risk and, you know, counter your social anxiety and fears just to kind of take that risk. Overall, a very good episode and very topical to right now, you know? The next episode we do is the last episode that's broken into two 10-minute parts. Like, the pilot was broken into two 10-minute parts, but it was Fly Part 1 and Part 2, so it's just the episode Fly. It's one full episode, and we have our season finale, Founders Day, one full episode. So this is our last, like, two-part mini-sode. The first one is called Cookie's Court, and we get to see Cookie, the diva from the earlier episode when Cosmo and Wanda were getting their training, and she is here for revenge. I like it kind of rings as an anti-Cosmo scenario where it's like one of the fairies is out to get the main cast, something that I think was very rarely used in the original series, so I'm glad that they emphasize it in this one. Hazel and Cosmo and Wanda are all playing with the exciting parts of having unlimited wishes, and you're reminded that Hazel is just a kid. I forgot that they have a separate location for when she's hanging out with her fairies. Like, this is definitely a unique idea. This whole like really glitz and glamoury room that is essentially Cosmo and Wanda's house is connected to Hazel's room on Earth, which is crazy to me. It's definitely super idealistic in a fun way. We see Jorgen in the bath, and he is so much more elusive in this series. I feel like before he was a little more aggressive, humorous, but he's a lot more serious and just, I guess, like grumpy in this one. Whatever the actor is doing makes it seem like he's just a real serious guy, and I kind of like how that goes. We actually follow Cookie more than Hazel in this one, reminding me of like one of those filler episodes they used to have where it was like about Cosmo or about, you know, one of the side plot characters. I haven't seen it in a while, but it's nice to know that they're still keeping that energy in this one. So Cookie is just so petty petty, I guess I would say the word is, that she's trying to get Cosmo and Wanda in trouble. I don't know, there's nobody voting for her or vouching for her in these scenarios. Like, I don't understand why she's the central part of this, but whatever. She's really bad at it at first. Like, Cosmo and Wanda are able to get away with the secrets, and Hazel doesn't have to come close to getting in trouble. They actually set Cosmo up to go on stage and admit that he's a fairy. Oh my gosh. Literally, how hard was it to set this up? Cookie has this little like ferret that is also kind of like her scarf that she wears, and he's kind of keeping track of everything, but it's clear that he's kind of like Max from How the Grinch Stole Christmas, because like he clearly doesn't agree with what they're doing. The episode kind of leans into the theme of being a court episode, which they've done so many times in the original series. I know like Timmy's like big dramatic wish was taking place in court. Every time like the law's broken, I feel like they go there, and they went there a lot toward the end of the series in a way that I felt unnecessary to go. But here it's actually a lot more interesting because it's just Cookie trying to frame these guys, and we're aware of it as the audience. Hazel serves as like the lawyer type, and she's funny like this because she's not too important to the plot, so we have a chance to look at her like more comedic relief, which I think adds our liking to her as a main character. I don't know why, but Cookie even gets a witness that's a human to come on the stands, and I'm like, how do they have humans here? Like, are they worried about giving up Fairy World? Like, I don't understand. Cosmo was super funny in the court setting though. Like, this is one of my favorite reasons that Cosmo and Wanda come to this new series. Like, we get to have a lot more fun with them than we did before, and that was like my biggest concern, is that like they just became like these things to remind us of the original series. Hazel's able to turn this whole court around pretty easily by calling on Cookie's scarf to the stand, and since it's a lot more morally just, I guess, he's not afraid to out Cookie, so Cookie loses the court case. And this guy's so funny, this little ferret. He like drives the car and everything, and we could tell that this fairy Cookie is definitely gonna come back. Like, if she was this committed this time, we're gonna see her again. It's so funny in animation, like they used to clearly write off the side characters and then write them back on if they wanted them again, but here it's like they definitely know they're gonna use Cookie again, so they purposely don't completely write her off. It's so much better than the original way, when like the writers just, okay, I guess the evil character's evil again, you know, like it's a lot more clean this way. Jorgen is the judge, which is so funny. I can't believe the court system in Fairy World. Like, they literally have a recess and they're all sitting on a literal recess park. Like, I love that concept. The second part of episode 9 is finally a parent episode. I didn't think we'd ever get one. It's called Work Her Magic, and at first I thought this was Hazel's mom on the title screen, but it's actually her. I'm gonna work backwards a little bit. So Hazel wants to be closer to her mother, so she pretends to be her assistant. She fires her mom's original assistant, but it's more so about the object of getting closer to her mother. Also reminding me of why her and Dev work so well together. They both have like parents that don't pay attention to them too much, and they know how that hurts them. And this one is really rooted in that. And it's kind of deep, I would say. Like, you could see Hazel's like need to be closer to her mom, and that charging all of her wishes just feels a lot more wholesome. Like, it's taking the best part of the original show without any of the cynicism, and like having it just fully be like she has this goal to get closer to her parents through magic, and she'll do it. There's something clearly wrong with Hazel, because when she becomes an adult to fill in the role of her mom's assistant, she's just like, let's go out to lunch, let's do this. Like, it's kind of sad to think that a daughter wants to be so close to her mom, but clearly she like gets that her mom thinks about her, because every time she's being her assistant, she's talking about Hazel, which is really sweet. Like, it shows that her mom really does care, and that she doesn't need to be in the room to show her how much she loves her. But Hazel kind of gets her mom into a bad situation because she has a presentation she has to do, and she ends up having to be the one to step in. Why? And this is the really funny part. So the puppet from earlier, this really disturbing Hazel puppet, keeps substituting in her life for her, and she's horrible. Like, she's a scary Night of the Living Dummy-esque puppet where you don't see where the strings are going. And I'm not sure if this is like a meme joke or just a horror cynical like reference, like a Five Nights at Freddy's of the modern culture. Like, I don't know what kids are into these days. This is terrifying. I hate seeing this puppet. Every time it's on, it's like a horror movie for me. Cosmo and Wanda have to make it look like this puppet is completely Hazel, which is really hard because it's literally a puppet. I don't know how it even does half the things it does on its own already. Like, this is such a funny bit, though. I don't know how to get the absurdist humor out of my head. But basically, the nurse is like, there's something wrong with Hazel. Why? Because she is literally replaced by a puppet. And so her mom's getting a call, and she has to leave real Hazel in charge of her meeting as her assistant. She does a horrible job, and we think she's about to do a good job when she calls in Cosmo and Wanda to portray adults again and be a part of the meeting, maybe like help save her, but it really makes it worse, and she embarrasses herself in front of everyone, and even Cosmo and Wanda don't know how to act in front of humans. Like, I guess it makes sense, like, none of them know what it's like to, one, be human, or also be an adult in the workplace. Like, none of them can create this facade, and I like that they lean into it being funny and like actually affect the rest of the episode, as opposed to just like solving the problem this way. Like, it's funny that they have real world consequences, because then Hazel's mom has to fire her, and you feel horrible for a second until you realize it's like Hazel's wish and she saw everything she needed to see, but it's still like you feel bad for her. Like, she cares about her mother's approval, and her mother is about to say goodbye to her for firing her because she didn't do a good job. I don't know, I would get triggered here, but it seems like Hazel can deal with it pretty well. Congrats, Hazel. And that's kind of how the episode ends. Like, we're really happy about their relationship. I wish I got to see more of the dad. I still have yet to, but whatever. It's a good show, and I'm really enjoying watching it. The next episode is the season finale, episode 10, Lost in Founders Day. So the season finale is something that really took me off guard, and it's only now that I'm realizing that Dev's dad actually did reference this in the Stanky Danky episode, or I forget which one it was. There's a lot of Dev episodes this season, but he said he's planning for Lost and Founders Day very quickly in passing, and we finally get that actually happening, which really surprises me. I guess the serial elements in this are a lot more prominent than I had thought, but I'm kind of excited to see where it leads. I mean, you know, having the first episode fly be 2 parts and seeing what they could accomplish in 22 minutes instead of 2 11-minute episodes, it was just astounding. Like, I would love it if this whole show was a 20-minute show, but it seems like they still kind of want to commit to that whole Fairly Odd Parents, like, 1 wish per episode gimmick. But you know what? If there's ever a show to pull it off, it's Fairly Odd Parents A New Wish. They would be so much better at pulling it off than Fairly Odd Parents ever could have been. And this episode is an even better example, because it actually is the end of the series as opposed to the beginning of it. So Dev hands out all these really weird wristbands, and we actually are convinced that this is Amazon. This is definitely a parody on Amazon. And I love that the whole event that surrounds the episode is a day based on the founders of the town, and you know, the idea of celebrating rich people is just so bizarre, and it's so funny that we do that often in our country. And in this, Hazel like has a really sudden urge to be accepted again, you know, like she's the new kid in Dimmadelphia, but also she wants to feel like she's a part of it, and the only way to do so would be winning the Founders Day hat that will be presented at the party, at the event. And it's interesting because, you know, like, that's her whole goal, and it starts to shift to be more about Dev versus his dad. He learns that his dad is actually contemplating a lot bigger plans that will disrupt the kids in town more than he had thought, and he realizes that he's being used every way, shape, and form. And I don't know how he doesn't pick up. I mean, maybe because he's like a young kid, but his dad is like completely taking advantage of him. His whole goal is to know what every kid is thinking and feeling, so they'll be able to sell something to them, which is actually cool because it's a kid show and we're talking about consumerism, like people you should be worried about, companies you should look out for, and that's like such a big issue nowadays. Like, with the advancement of technology, social media, it's become really important to keep an eye out to who's trying to sell you something versus who's just trying to get to know you. And having this almost add a zap to the person wearing its brain is even more concerning. I don't know how long it's gonna take for Dev to realize what his dad's doing is super wrong. Like, I feel like this is like the 6th or 7th red flag at this point. But at this age, like, I don't think you would pick up on something like that even quicker, so I'm not surprised. This whole festival looks super fun though, with her parents actually joining Hazel with their own booths at this place. At first I was like, okay, so then they better be a part of the finale, like they better have some say in why the plot moves a certain way, and then she doesn't. We even see Cosmo and Wanda say hi to them again, so it's clear that they're keeping the continuity. Wanda's outfit is a lot more fresh than Cosmo's though. Like Cosmo looks kind of homeless and Wanda looks kind of like business casual. But like the idea of pink pants and yellow over top it is really nice. Like, I'm surprised how good this looks. Hazel is so removed from the actual conflict that she doesn't even know what's going on. So many cameos from characters that were in earlier episodes, like the Dinosaur, Stanky Danky, like they're all in this, which is crazy. I don't know why I haven't seen Jasmine in this though. I feel like Hazel's best friend isn't super prominent in this series so far. You know, like being at the very tail end of it, it's like I'm starting to notice more of what we had missed. I love how Hazel, the whole episode too, is like, wearing hats is my thing. Like that's why I need it. But like we've never seen her wear a hat before this episode and suddenly it's her life. That is 100% what the adolescent experience is. Cosmo and Wanda are determined to help her win this hat, and everything is kind of going over their heads because they don't realize what's happening. The whole trying to get the hat from the trivia is Hazel's entire focus. So of course she wouldn't recognize this. Although she is given a couple hints to know that Dev's dad is up to no good when she learns that the statues are actually able to talk, and that's not because of magic. I like that the twist is that like science versus magic is actually like truly an issue. Science can't detect magic, and magic can't always be so perceptive to science. I don't know, that was worded weird, but you know what I'm saying. Like, because the dad can't really detect why Hazel's making everybody's wishes come true. Like, she's just casually doing nice things for other kids based on Cosmo and Wanda's magic, and it makes Dev's dad a lot more irrelevant, kind of like Amazon would be. They do say something specifically in this episode referencing Amazon. I think they call it like Dimazon, and I don't know how much more subtle you can get than that, but they definitely know what they're doing here. My favorite moment in this entire two-part special though has to be the montage of Hazel imagining herself with this hat. Like, I don't know why this is suddenly her biggest want in life is to have this hat, even further than like winning Founders Day. Like, she just wants to be with this hat. But it does give me nostalgic vibes of the first series. It's very trippy and fits into the meme culture. Like, it takes Fairly OddParents to the modern day in a really good way. Hazel even notices that these robots have just been walking around scanning other people, and until they actually come to life, she thinks she has to do something about it. Cosmo actually guesses exactly what happens prior to it actually happening, and nobody believes him because they think he's just a dope. But it's funny because they reveal moments later that he actually was right, despite the fact he has no idea what's actually going on. The reference to Doug Dimmadome is super prominent here, you know, because he's one of the 3 founders, because I guess he was that rich, and it's nice to have that little callback without it taking too much of the spotlight. Like, it's hard for me personally not to see that and have it focus the entire episode on like, why is Doug Dimmadome here? But we don't want this to be a reboot that just relies on the material of the former show. Like, I like that it's just a aesthetic choice as opposed to a direct connection to what went on with Timmy Turner. I don't know, I like it when it's more of its own thing. Hazel even has a moment where she catches Dev's dad making kids unhappy, and it's like, how much more subtle can you get with this? She is against Dev fully at this point. Like, she's liked him before, they tried to keep their friendship, but they really are on rocky territory. Mainly because, I gotta be honest, Dev does not know how he feels. Dev is hot and cold toward Hazel at all different points, and you know what? He kind of gives himself boy who cries wolf syndrome because of it. Like, he needs to borrow Hazel's hat so she doesn't get in trouble, and this is kind of like the best thing he's ever done in the show. Like, he protects Hazel, but he can't communicate why he has to take her hat, so she's a little more fed up with him. So when she realizes his dad's evil, she assumes he's a part of it. Like, why else would she steal that hat, especially since he can't explain himself? And I hate it when shows end on a character not being able to explain themselves, or like an entire side of the story not being expressed. Like, that always leaves me worried about the future. The art in this is phenomenal, and I cannot get over that. It is so cute. And the biggest twist of this, which I was not expecting, and I am so pleasantly surprised, that we get a cameo appearance from Poof. Oh my god, Poof says his real name is Harry and basically presents himself to Dev because Dev is just so miserable. His dad is neglectful in a way that only Timmy's parents could be, and we finally see that he gets something for himself, a fairy godparent. And that is the last like 20 seconds of plot that happens in this series. Like, why is Poof here? Why isn't Poof with Cosmo and Wanda? Why did he change his name? Like, what happened since the last series to lead to this moment? Like, I have so many more questions than I do answers, and I think that's a really fun way to end the season. If season 2 weren't coming out literally this week, I actually would probably be a little more fed up, because imagine if the show wasn't renewed. Like, that whole plot twist would have just gone with a million unanswered questions. And I really hope that everybody who tuned into the show actually got into it, watched it until the very end, because I know people my age probably didn't. Like, younger generations don't love cartoons as much as they used to, but this is such a phenomenally done piece of art, just as much as it is Fairly OddParents. It's deep, it's cathartic, and it's really modern to issues that we never had in the previous show. I can't believe how well it's separated from its previous identity. Like, I'm just so amazed at how good it is. From the start of the season, when they got Cosmo and Wanda and cleverly weaved them into Hazel's life, we learned so much about them in this whole new landscape of experiences. And then Hazel's had so many personal conflicts with the people around her, character flaws that lead her to make really embarrassing mistakes that they spend the entire episode trying to come back from. And then the depth between all the other people in the room just adds an extra layer to it. Getting glimpses into fairy world, seeing Jorgen probably 3 or 4 times. Like, it is so exciting to think it's come such a long way since, I don't know, like 10 episodes, and now we're ending with this? Whew. I don't know if you guys are excited to watch the second season of Fairly OddParents: A New Wish, but I am beyond pumped. I wonder if like they did all the 20 episodes together when they originally ordered the show, because they'll do that sometimes on Netflix. Like, they'll order 30 episodes and release them in 10 episode chunks over the years, and it's kind of annoying because it's like, if the show's first season didn't get good ratings, they probably would just bury it and not even put it out. But the fact that we got this far, we're about to get 10 more episodes, like, we're on a good track here. Like, I really hope New Wish paves the way to keep this IP alive for a little bit longer, at least. Like, it kind of gives me hope for other Nicktoons too. Like, if you wanted to do a new show that kind of captured the essence of a previously established show, as long as it kind of fits this new era of life, like, I'm all for it. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is Johnny 2000, and have a great day.